Hi, everybody. Welcome to another special edition of the World Love Week. And we want you to check out World Love Week for how you can put heart back into your business so you can have more fun, make more money, and connect with your customers by serving them in the deepest way possible. So find out more at www.worldloveweek.com. I'm Scott Patton. I'm just delighted to be here with you. And I'm also delighted to share two amazing guests. He's got the absolute perfect rags to riches story, because about 17 years ago he was broke, he was homeless, he was $40,000 in debt, sleeping on a friend's couch, and since then he's built a large number of multi-million-dollar and international businesses, and he's helped over 3 million entrepreneurs and professionals all over the world open the floodgates to sustainable wealth. But that's not the most important thing. He's won the heart of his sweetheart, who becomes his partner, not just in the family sense, but also in the business sense. And it's just great to have Kane and Alessia join us. How are you two doing today?
Fine, thank you.
Yeah, great. Thanks for having us.
Awesome. So before we get into the details of your business and everything else, what I'd like to ask you is, a little bit about yourself. Tell us a little bit about your family. I understand last year Alessia took a little bit of a step back in terms of the business because the family was taking a step forward.
Oh.
Yeah, well, so, although you kicked off with my story, actually, Alessia's background is she had founded just under a dozen companies throughout Europe, originally from Italy, and had done over 100 million euro in turnover when I met her. And so she was used to being a career girl. In fact, a CEO and running it, having over 150 people reporting to her. And so it was quite a shift, I think. And we had a little girl, which is beautiful and healthy and the love of our lives right now. And so, for that time period, which is a lot of people ask Alessia, a lot of women ask Alessia about how do you balance your life having a child. I mean, she's devoted to our daughter. We also have an older son, 6 months old, from a previous marriage. And so, sorry, six years. That'd be weird to have this 6 months old. 6 years old and a 6-month-old. So the question is, how do we continue to run a global business? And as a woman, how does she have that going on? And there's a lot of love involved, because when you have your children involved and you love them and you want to spend time with them, it's a real juggling act.
Absolutely. And during the last 6 months, I've been looking for answers about how to actually put it all together and have everything run smoothly, like dedicate time to her and find time for business and feel fulfilled in both areas of my life.
So what's your answer been?
Well, I think it's a lot about balance and focus, having focus time in one area and focus time in the other. I tried, and I see a lot of women actually trying to do everything together and, trying to work while you have your child, and this becomes very, very difficult and very unfulfilling, and you feel just very wrong because nothing works. And I found that when you actually create focus time for your child, you think that the more you are with your child, the more you create connection. But really, if you have more focus time and then you go away for a few hours and you focus on something else, you create more fulfilling for yourself, because you can actually really focus on your work, get stuff done, feeling that you're really moving forward. And when you come back, you have a new energy that you can use with your child and engage them with and be really present with them, which really makes a big difference.
I think that's a great point. Actually, you reminded me of when I went to a coffee shop a couple of months ago, and it was in the morning, and I saw this gentleman come in, and he had an 8-year-old and a 12-year-old son with him, and I just sort of glanced over and I thought, oh, that's really nice. Dad's having time with his sons, and I thought, oh, that's awesome. And then I looked again. He was reading a newspaper, and the two boys were on iPhones or something playing games. And then I thought, there's no quality time going on here at all. They've got electronic devices babysitting their kids. And I think you make a great point when you say if you really focus and give your children, a quality time, the quantity looks after itself.
Yeah, let me say, we are very tempted. Those devices are lovely, but we are very adamant about no screen time. We have no televisions in the house. We don't watch any television here. And our kids have, our 6-year-old has practically no screen time. He may watch, I don't know, a small children's movie, you know, once a month. So it is, it keeps us very active to keep them engaged. We even have a no phone rule over the meals. You know, nobody's on their phones or texting or doing anything, so that we stay, you know, Alessia being Italian and me growing up in a very strong family, it is very much about family, and it is that balance between exercise, you know, talking about Love Week, our love life, of course, you know, finding that balance. And then
with 2 kids, a dog, a business.
yes, well, and multiple businesses. And then managing, you know, our clients and being there for our clients, because right now our focus is our training business that we've been running for the last 10 years. So that's you know, they're also
a lot to juggle.
Yeah, they're also like our family.
We never get bored around here.
Oh.
No, that's for sure. So you were just on a world tour. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so Alessia and I travel still internationally. I mean, Alessia has owned the largest tour operator in Italy. And it was a family business they started 40 years ago, and she stepped in about 15 years ago to run it. When I met her in Italy, I was on stage in Italy in front of 3,000 people, and she was in the audience, got dragged to a presentation by a business coach of hers. And so when I whisked her away from Italy, I was living in Australia at the time, and we fell instantly in love. And so she literally hired CEOs to run her business and whisked her away. So before the last several years of us running this businesses together, she's used to been, you know, running those businesses. So we now tour together globally and teach. And since she's been used to traveling since she was 6 months old, and
now, you know, our little daughter is following my steps because she will start traveling with us next month.
Oh, good. Actually, that was my question: is when you travel, does she come along with you?
Oh, totally. Yes. She will come everywhere with us. I did that with my parents. My parents are now here to visit from Italy, and we were just talking about that. I was very involved since a very young age with their business. I was traveling with them all over the world, and they really had me involved in that. I remember when I went to school, so many of my friends, when you would ask them, you know, what do your parents do? They wouldn't know. They would say, I'm not sure, I don't know, I don't understand it. I knew everything that was going on. I was so present, and I was so engaged in that, and I would travel with them. And, you know, they had a fun business. It was about tourism. So we would travel together, meet people, and
she was negotiating contracts by 3 years old, and it was the brand by 6.
Well, I had my very first job, and probably my only job, was as a model. Like, I would model for my parents. They needed to have brochures, and I became their brand, their model, all over their brochures. My face was everywhere.
Which is actually part of one of the stresses of our work is personal branding and how critical that is. And of course, smart entrepreneurs have been personally branding themselves for decades, but now it's become a very important topic. Started teaching it. One of our first books was on personal branding about 10 years ago, and it's really expanded and exploded. And one of the things that Alessia and I specialize in is actually working with family businesses and couples, or families that want to work together, brothers and sisters, or, you know, cousins, or, you know, husbands and wife teams. And we love that because it's a very powerful, you want to talk about love in your business. It's very powerful to have families engaged in a business where they love each other passionately, and there's all that passion, which means when it works, it works, and when it doesn't, it doesn't.
Well, having run both of us businesses with our families, and now running a business together and multiple businesses together, we know that, you know, it's really powerful, and it really brings you together and in more dimensions. But at the same time, you know, everything is amplified, the good and the bad. So when there is a problem, then it's, you know, with the person that is more important in your life. So it becomes huge. You don't just go home and think about it. Yeah. You go in bed and it's still there.
And she points at me.
So there are some very specific challenges that you face when you run a business with your family, your loved one, you know, your brothers, your best friend, that are just very specific to these situations. Yeah. And that's what we actually love to help people with.
Cool. So what are some of those challenges, and what are some of the ways that you would help people get over them?
How much time you got?
You've got a 30-second soundbite here.
look, it's there's the classic. I mean, every business has classic problems, and we've taught over 400,000 businesses, so of course they haven't all been oriented towards family or partnerships. And so all businesses typically go through the 5 major challenges. They need clarity in their business. They need visibility. They need good structures. They need great partnerships and community. And they need good influence skills and communication. Family businesses and partnerships tend to go through a slightly more, let's say, an accelerated version of those things, because the communication and the alignment is really the biggest challenge. So I'd say alignment is the #1 challenge in family businesses, and communication around that alignment. So we really work with, especially generational.
Oh, yeah.
We work a lot with, parents that are now looking for their children to take them over. A lot of children get sucked into businesses. And although they like them and it's great opportunities and they're happy to have that opportunity, there's a lot of that struggle between generations and new concepts. And business has changed so much in the last 10 years that there's big generational gaps now in terms of what the older generation, how they built their business, how they knew it to work, and now how the kids want to be running the business, which is quite different. And so we deal with a lot of alignment issues. I'd say, whether it's couples aligning, because men and women are different. They have different desires, different passions, different needs, typically different roles. Fathers or I should say parents rather, and their children, same conversation.
Yeah, well, I stepped into my family business when my father had a heart attack. And before that, I was actually very sure that I didn't want to run a business with them. I didn't want to step into that business. It was their business. And, I saw the way they were running it. It wasn't really aligned with what I believed in and, my personality. And so I didn't want to do that. And then when I needed to step in, there were a lot of challenges. Their way to run a business, their mindset was very different. And we needed to find a way to actually get aligned on that, because now we were in that together. And once we actually did, and we engaged with coaches, and we spent some time into finding a communication that would work for us, it was really powerful, and we grew that business a lot because of our differences, because we could actually work together. So I now have a lot of young people coming into their businesses and just make these differences as something powerful that can help move forward, instead of get them stuck somewhere where they can't communicate. So
it took them 30 years to build a 20 million euro a year business, and when Alessia stepped into it and they actually aligned and they started to look at and trust each other and have that flow, she practically doubled the business in the next 5 to 6 years. So it was
that's awesome.
When you have that alignment with family, and of course you have there's a lot to learn from traditional and the older generation. There's a lot of great lessons. And then if they're open to understanding and being, not scared of the new, internet marketing and, utilizing the newest structures and videos and webinars. I mean, just even this, you're in Vancouver, we're in California right now. We split our lives between Italy and here. And even just doing international business, we have our offices in 4 different countries and our clients in, 35 different countries. Even just that is a very big difference doing international business than the way our parents did business. So.
Oh yeah, when you look at the technology that we have now and how we've shrunk the globe down with before we went on the air, I told you lived in Sydney, Australia, and I told you I had lived in Melbourne. And when I graduated from university just a few years ago, I went back to decades ago, went back to Melbourne for 9 months, and then I traveled throughout Southeast Asia. And the way I communicated with my family is I sent a postcard every 3 or 4 months. My dad would receive a postcard. I'm in, Malaysia going to Bangkok, and then he would read the paper, and some bus going from Malaysia to Bangkok was robbed, and he didn't hear from me for another 2 weeks, right? And now, of course, we've got texting and email, and it's.
Yes. It's rare, but when I do a couple of countries without Alessia and our daughter and our son, just for the travel purposes, we can be on Skype, video. I'd be working. We could feel like we're in the same room, and we can be discussing things that just happened. Hey, I need to talk to you about a conversation. We need to make some decisions on partnerships and things like that. And you can have immediate access. And that's
actually, when we met, I was living in Rome and he was living in Sydney. And the funny thing is that we're so connected, and Skype made it so easy for us to connect that I would literally have my laptop on my desk while I was working with Kane sleeping on it. I would be connected to
It's a little
him.
weird, but she jokes that she met her husband online, but she says, but that's not how eBay works. You gotta wait for a good number and buy now button. And that's how she got me.
Cool. Well, let's talk a little bit about Industry Rockstar. How did that get started?
Yeah, so I started this about 10 years ago, and it started because at 22, I was actually homeless and broke, which was true story. I had completely gone $40,000 in debt, was sleeping on a friend's couch in San Francisco. I was a record producer and musician, and I wanted to start a music company to, stop working for others and going into debt. And I went to a seminar and I met a business coach who at first I was very skeptical about, but then I thought, well, maybe I'll give him a go. It's a good thing I did, because he and his family helped me build the 5th largest media company in the world about 4 or 5 years later, which still goes on today. It's called Somatone. And from there, we started building more businesses. I thought, hey, this is cool. Let's do it again. So we started building internet businesses and real estate and retail and buying businesses and running fund. We were just doing tons of stuff. And we ended up doing about 24 businesses before I was 30. So about 28, 29 years old, I was essentially retired. And my friends came to me and said, how did you do that? And I said, I'd be happy to show you, because I'm really not doing much these days. And we started teaching. I recruited a friend named Jeff. And of course, if you look me up online, a lot of people will see old videos of Jeff and myself being goofballs teaching. We just want to have a lot of fun and teach the world about great business ideas and great business skills. So we were teaching about marketing and branding and sales and internet marketing and the newest stuff. And of course, things were evolving at that time. Facebook was relatively new, and Twitter and YouTube, all that stuff was relatively new. And we were just at the cusp of learning how to use all that stuff to accelerate our businesses. So from there, we presented for about 18 months around California, and our business techniques and our strategies and our formulas became so successful with people that the word spread quickly, and we started getting invited around the planet to speak with people like Richard Branson and Tony Robbins and Tony Blair and Bill Clinton. And we started doing these huge stadiums of 10,000 people at a time, sharing our strategies and our formulas with people. I'd say about 5 years in, I was on stage in Italy, and that's when I met Alessia. And at that time, I met her, and I thought, wow, I'm sure, this beautiful woman. I thought, what more could there be? And who cares? This beautiful woman. Turned out she is a very, very experienced entrepreneur and business owner. And she was actually just about to start a coaching organization in Italy to be helping entrepreneurs building their businesses, because Italy was going through a very tough time in financial crisis. And she had a lot of great systems she had done as well. And she's a pretty interesting story, actually. She should tell that. But anyway, so as we started to combine our resources and all of our trainers, we had about a dozen trainers training around the planet. We were just, focusing on helping. I mean, our real mission of our company is to help entrepreneurs be empowered to impact the planet. And we primarily focus on women entrepreneurs, family businesses, and what we call conscious men. So essentially, people who are into businesses. We like small and micro businesses. We've coached a lot of huge organizations, Fortune 500s, executive teams, CEOs at large organizations that by name. But we really, really love these days filling our rooms full of entrepreneurs and small business owners, practitioners, experts, consultants, coaches, those kind of things. Because what we've noticed is that money really magnifies what's in your heart. And in order to impact the world the way we want to have more money in the bank accounts of those who have big hearts. And so that's kind of our mission. So these days, we're fortunate enough, we have partners all over the world that fill up huge rooms for us. We'll go and we'll speak to, I was just in Vietnam speaking to just under 1,000 people there, training them in how to, they're just hungry, man. There's these countries that we go in and out of. And we'll train around America and Canada and UK and the developed Western, but some of these Eastern countries we go into, they're just so hungry for the ability to create their lives, bring their knowledge out there, and they're so brilliant. India, Singapore, Thailand, Vietnam, Malaysia. I mean, there's brilliance everywhere, but they're so hungry there because they just don't get as much opportunity. And so we have this great opportunity of going in there and sharing our systems with them.
Oh, that's wonderful. So what do you think are the key ingredients to your success so far?
I'd say Alessia, because she's definitely one of the key ingredients to our success, for sure, for all sorts of reasons. But why don't you share the vote?
But I think one of the key ingredients for our success, and what we see working for our clients as well, is when you are really engaged in something that you are passionate about. because then every single day, every single hour that you work, it doesn't really feel as work. You just have so much energy to do that. You're so passionate, and when you engage with people that you love, you just don't look at time. You don't just do what you need to do. You do much more. You really make the impossible possible, and that's what moves things faster. So that's, I think, the main thing that I would think is passion.
Yeah, and we talk a lot about, and I agree for us too, following proven systems and having great mentors. Those two things are critical, and we have had that since the beginning. Alessia's had coaches, and we've paid hundreds and hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars out for coaching and training and mentorship over the years, and we always follow a system that those mentors lay out for us. Whether we're heading into new countries, I mean, we spend millions of dollars a year on ad buying with our partners. We spent $10 million in the last 6 years alone. Our partners have spent around $1 billion in ad buying, so we're constantly understanding what's working and not working, engaging people, influencing people, having people see our brand, how to build a brand, all that stuff. And so we're very focused on the systems that work, creating systems that work out of our testing, and then giving those systems to our customers and clients so that they can avoid making the mistakes. We've also lost millions of dollars, done tons of stupid things, rushed into places where I've had brilliant ideas and gotten burned here and there, and had partnerships that burned us and things like that. Just kind of how it goes when you're playing big and full out. And sometimes we say, we don't need a system or a mentor, we'll just go do it. And then hundreds of thousands of dollars lost later, we go, well, maybe we should have listened to somebody. So we're pretty adamant about good systems and great mentorship, good coaches. We have lots of them circulating around us all the time.
Oh, very, very cool. So how do you define success?
That's a nice question.
Yeah, we should say to your listeners, we have no idea what the questions were going to be for this, and we actually prefer that. So we can respond more authentically than some prefabbed answers. Do you want to?
What is success? I think that, I can answer for myself, and I think that success is really freedom and flexibility, especially being a woman and having a family, being free and flexible to really organize every day as it's best for me and for my family, and take time off when I need, and be able to really do what I love. Because when you have a family, every hour that you work, especially as a woman, you need to really be passionate about it, because the other side, what you are actually putting in pause for a few hours, is something really important. So it's really important that you have something that you love and you're passionate about. And having that flexibility to just create every day as you like it, and every day is your perfect day, is just invaluable. Cool. I think that's really success.
I want to delve into that a little bit more, because the picture that you've painted was you were running your family business, which sounds to me probably like a 6 a.m. till 9 p.m. job.
It's very different.
Oh, no. And actually,
well, it was very different at the beginning, and that's why I was in that situation, and that's why I appreciate so much what I have now.
Wait. When I met her, I used to say,
"What?"
Yeah, I understand. But when you design your life and you really work towards it, when I met Alessia, I used to say, "So, what are you doing now?" And she'd say, "Well, I'm heading off to go ride my horses." So I said, well, and then I'd say, "Okay, great. And what are you doing after that?" She says, "Well, I'm meeting a friend for lunch." And then I'd say, "Okay, what are you doing after?" "Well, I've got a meeting at the office or very super." And then, "Okay, then what do you do?" "Well, then I'm going to meet a friend for an afternoon, and then I'm going to go exercise." And I was like, "When do you work?" And 175 people on 30 million euro, a year. That was her. I used to seriously joke with her. I was like, "When do you work?" And she said, "Well, I don't. Why would I? I work as I need to, and I got myself leveraged, and I've got our systems and our teams in place." And that was her whole focus, was being able to have her life, and especially being European, which I love, because us Americans will work till we fall asleep and wake up and start working again. And Europeans are just so different. They're much more focused on their lifestyle, but they're doing just what they want to do and making as much money as everyone else. So it's just
my father was probably a little bit more American in that sense. So I've seen that since I was a little girl, and then when I stepped in, I got a little bit into that working mode of working from early in the morning to late at night, until at some point I realized that this wasn't working for my life. I couldn't actually think of my future like that. I had a big turning point in my life at some point. I was, as Kane said, I used to horseback ride and do, show jumping with my horse. And at some point while I was training for a competition, I fell and I broke my spine.
Oh no.
Which was, it was terrible. And right now I'm so grateful for that moment because it changed totally my perspective on things. And, suddenly as a young woman, I needed to stay in bed for 6 months. I couldn't actually do anything for 6 months, which was, very scary at that moment. I was like, how will I actually move things forward? How will that work for my life, for my business, for all the people that rely on me? And this was the moment where I really realized that something needed to change, and I needed to create systems and make sure that, things could actually move forward without me. Because until that moment, I needed to show up. I needed to actually do things in order for my business to move forward. And that's where I started to engage with coaches, and I started to create systems, and, I started to systematize. And that's why I'm so passionate about that, because that's where I actually draw a line and said, oh, this is not working anymore. And that's why I was then able, to move to Sydney and then to move here. And, right now to have my little girl and spend time with her and have my businesses running. And, it's just such an exquisite experience of freedom that I would have never had before. I couldn't even think about that being possible in my life.
And Alessia speaks a lot to women about not being afraid of technology. She actually builds our sites. She often manages our database. She uses the technology, and today technology is really designed for everyday normal human beings. You don't have to be a coder, or if she needs a little extra help with graphic design, she outsources it a bit, but she's very on top of that. And you don't have to be. She's a social butterfly, so you don't have to be some techno geek to be involved in that. And she really encourages women to be able to set themselves free by being willing to be involved in the technology today. It's changed dramatically. So if 10 years ago it seemed like it was overwhelming or too techy or too geeky, today it's not. It's a lot of drag and drop.
Totally. If you want to talk about a big change in technology these days, is that now it's really user friendly for everyone. Like everyone, if you understand what are the right systems to use, everyone can get up and just create a little website by themselves in a couple of hours. And that's, again, something that makes you free, because you don't need to rely on someone else. You don't need to have extra costs. You don't need, it makes you much more free and flexible in your business to change and shift and create. And, ultimately that's...
I'll give you one more fun fact about Alessia. When I met her 3 years ago, she barely spoke any English. It's her 5th language. So, what that represents to me, outside of that, she's just very unstoppable. And what I love about that is, the next decade's been coined the decade of the woman entrepreneur. There's more resources, time, attention towards women entrepreneurs, couples in business, family businesses, conscious men. All of the platforms that we use to grow our businesses these days are steeped in feminine values. So what I love about our work together is, her essence inside of being unstoppable in those values, in those systems. And I think it's a huge inspiration outside of just the actual systems for people to follow.
Yeah, for sure. It's very inspiring. So where do you get your inspirations?
Well, I get my inspiration from this one over here. First of all, my children really inspire me. I think I had a big, I also, as a man, and probably maybe a lot of the fathers can resonate with this, I think is when you have children, it really shifts, your values all shift. Just nature shifts. You just get smacked in the face. Boom. You go from that time period where you're focused on building money for money's sake or acquiring things, and that all just disappears into absolute no value anymore. Having fancy cars or big homes or flying around on private jets, which we did for years, is just, it just doesn't matter anymore. And you just have so much attention on your children and giving to them and engaging with them and making sure that they understand. And our children we were very privileged as well. We both grew up in very, very stable and well-off families. It's a little bit of a difference between us and a lot of the presenters and trainers out there in the world, which came from very, very adverse backgrounds. Spent a lot of time on stage with people like Les Brown and and Chris Gardner, and just amazing people who came from very underprivileged lives and families. We didn't, and it is a difference actually in how we think and grew up. And so we're very privileged, and we make sure our children understand that they're very privileged, and we train them and groom them. Our youngest is just 6 months old, of course, but our 6-year-old, he speaks on stages when we're in the same cities together, and he knows that he's being groomed to contribute. And that a number one value I think that shifted for me as a man was contribution, balance, with my family, making sure that they came first. Balancing our calendar, because we used to speak 280 days a year in 16 different countries.
Wow.
We'd be on a plane every 2 weeks to a different country. Sometimes I still find us caught up in that. And so that element, that value of contribution has become huge. And that has also gone to our participants, I should say. Our values around contributing to them, helping them build contributing businesses, contributing to their families, contributing to their communities. Our values around working with charities. We worked with Virgin Unites and Richard Branson for a while. We've raised millions of dollars for Amnesty International. So I think that really shifted. My inspiration is really around contribution now. It's a core value for us.
Yeah. Well, and I work with women all over the world for my past business, for our current businesses. I had, the opportunity to connect with women in business really all over the world. My past businesses had partnerships in 35 different countries, so I really met a lot of them, and many of them were looking for role models and mentors as women entrepreneurs, and it was very tough. It was very difficult to find those. I was lucky enough. My mom always worked. My parents created the company together, and they faced all the challenges that we spoke before about, and they found their solutions. I was very inspired by that. I always had my role model to look up to, but I know that so many women don't. And if I think about my little girl and all the little girls that are just growing up right now, I would like a world for them where they can find a lot of different role models that they can follow, they can be inspired by, and can help them really find their their life, they create the life that they want.
Yeah, I'll add one more component. We're very inspired by the people we work with, our clients, and we're very specific about that. And we fire people that we're not inspired by pretty quickly, or we drop them out of our programs. Just say, sorry, here's your money back. It's not, it's not the match. We really need to be inspired. And I'll often, if I'm on the road alone, I'll often call Alessia and she'll say, how is the event? Eager to know how it's going. And my response will either be, I'm very inspired by the people here, or it's boring because I'm not. For whatever, and it's pretty unusual that I'm not, but really we gain that inspiration by engaging with people, because there's so many magnificent people around this planet doing so many great things. And I'll tell you that one of the lessons we've learned by traveling all over the world, through our own businesses and through our training business, is that we're really just all the same. We're all looking to do the same stuff. We want to contribute. We want to make a difference. We want to support our families, have great opportunities, travel and see the world, share, learn, grow. I mean, it doesn't matter whether we're in India or in the Middle East, or when we're in Europe, or New Zealand or Tasmania or Australia. It doesn't, Canada. It doesn't matter. It's all the same. And so we're very inspired by what people are up to. People are passionate about creating new products, technologies, applications, bringing services to the world, teaching people. I mean, we just meet so many on fire people. So they really keep us inspired. We can't wait to get to the next city and just meet the new next group of people that we're going to support and help to bring their ideas out to the planet.
That's awesome. And I know we're running out of time. You have another appointment in a few minutes, but I wanted to just come back to one thing that we'd sort of touched on, where you talked about different charities and different causes, and I was wondering if there was one charity or cause, and you've already made clear, helping women entrepreneurs is obviously one of those, but any others that are near and dear to your heart?
Well, yeah, I mean, so Alessia is very, very much into animals and animal protection, and she's very involved in that. We're also both, I think children has probably been the biggest one that we come together on. Yeah. We like helping people that I think are, I think, we're very present to how fortunate we are. We grew up in beautiful countries with, lots of abundance around us. And so I think we both feel very practically obligated. And also, I mean, even when I was, broke, sleeping on a couch, and my coaches really honestly gave to me. I mean, they were charging hundreds of thousands of dollars, so they just happened to be sort of gracious enough to take me under their wings. So we received a lot of abundance in our life, whether it was love or support. So we feel really particularly obligated to use our lives to help those that are less fortunate. When I was just in Vietnam, I was walking around the streets, and I'd look into stores and I would see mothers just kind of in stores. There was a particular flower store I was walking past where a woman was laying on a lounge chair in her store, just holding her son, just waiting for customers. And, my feeling is we can help them understand how to get more customers, because passive, most people start businesses, they have either a passion for, they want to set their own schedule, they want to make their own money, they want to control their life. Maybe they have a technical expertise, whatever it is, they start it. But most business owners that we talk to around the planet, and we've surveyed hundreds of thousands of our clients, they have really no understanding of how to run a business. No one's ever taught them how to run a business. So they're doing the best they can, which is beautiful, but they're also struggling and they're frustrated because they know they could be doing a lot more. And so I think we like to help particularly underprivileged people, or people that really mean well. We've helped Asha Global, which is a company in India that helps get young girls out of the sex trade. We love helping children and people who are really caught up in unfortunate circumstances. This time in history, their country, it is what it is. And, you can't control where you're born, although spiritually we could say you chose for your own soul journey. But, let's say that paradox is, we'd like to help those people that were born or chose to be born in those places maybe have a higher quality of life. So we've worked with Heart Kids in Australia to help children who can't afford heart transplants get those. We've helped, there was an organization that we were working with Tony Robbins. I'm forgetting the name, but it was an organization, Australia, we helped almost a decade ago, putting more teens through leadership programs. And so we've done all that, but I think we love to help the most underprivileged have a very different quality life.
Well, something that I think we're really passionate about in our business is that every single entrepreneur that we help grow their business, we actually help them align with a charity as well. So every single person that we help around the world actually contribute in helping others and creating, more opportunities for underprivileged people. And that's something that, creates a huge movement all around the world, and it's very inspiring.
Yeah. By the way, when I say help, I'm not talking about we just donate money. We're actually not a big fans of just donating money. We're actually bigger fans of creating structures that allow partnerships. So we teach entrepreneurs how to partner with charities and how to create structures in the business. So we've built products, for example, that are specifically that revenue, when it's sold, goes directly to that charity. We play games in our rooms with our clients and we say, look, we're going to teach you a new technique. It's going to change your ability to create money. When you do that, we want to ask you that you take 10 or 15% of new money that you make here in this game this weekend and donate to a charity of your choice. Let's create new money and be up to a big game. Because those big missions, when the mission comes from outside of you, you're just more motivated. I mean, especially entrepreneurs, there's a point at which, we help people make more money. It's a no-brainer. But then there's a point at which you get comfortable. And how much money do you really need? I mean, we find that women, honestly, often sort of lose motivation around $250,000 for themselves in their own businesses, and men usually lose motivation around $500,000 to $1 million. Once they're bringing that home, sure, it's fun to play more games, but they really lose that motivation, especially heart-centered entrepreneurs that are not just driven to just create 100 million or something. So we got all these great heart-centered entrepreneurs all over the world that have the capability to make a lot of money, losing motivation at a certain inflection point. So we find that when we bring in this part and we say, look, when we were having dinner with Richard Branson about 1.5 years ago, and I said, what's your biggest challenge? And he says, money. I said, money? How could that be? He says, yeah, I just can't get enough to help all the people in the world I want to.
Wow.
And so, that's that, you bring that element in, and when you bring in, someone like Richard, who in my experience of being with him, just has a huge heart, beautiful, humble man. And when you bring in the element of, so you've got enough for yourself, but that's a small game. There is, there's yourself and your family, but then there's your community, there's your industry, there's, humanity. Start expanding that game you're playing, play at a bigger level, and now you've got a lot of drive.
Yeah.
Cool. Wow, that's absolutely awesome, and I'm just so delighted to be here with you right now. It's very inspiring. We're running out of time, so I have two things I want to do. One is to ask you, like, if anyone wanted to find out more about your coaching and your training and everything else, how to do that. And the other one is, what would be an important tip, or just a tip that you'd like to leave everybody with, or a thought that you'd like to leave everybody with?
I'll share where you can find more about us, and maybe Alessia can share a final tip. So where you can find more about us is to just Google us, because we have so many events going on globally. You can go to industryrockstar.com as our main site. You can go to kaneminkus.com or alessiaminkus.com, or you can simply Google us, and all of that will funnel in. These days, as we show people how to sort of have everything lead back. As I say, Alessia being from Rome, all roads will lead to Rome, and we've learned that well being in Rome. All roads actually do lead to Rome, as I learned living in Rome. That is actually a truth. So you can find us at just Google our names. We're all over the place. And most importantly, I think, is find an event that we're doing near you, or a webinar we're running, where we can start to keep sharing the ways of being able to create more wealth for yourself, so that ultimately it's not about you. You will create more wealth through our stuff, but so you can have an abundance to be able to go share or do more things with, travel around, even if it's teaching. Go off to, I don't know, Cambodia and teach. Go off to Laos and teach. Go off to Vietnam and teach. Create that abundance so you can have the flexibility to go travel all over the place and give.
Awesome.
As far as, one tip for everyone, for businesses, is, I think, focus. Like, don't be scared to really focus on working with people that you love, like choosing who do you want to work with, choosing what you want to work on, choosing what is the problem that you want to solve. We meet so many entrepreneurs that are so scared to choose, and they try to please everyone, they try to serve everyone, they try to solve too many problems, and they think that this will actually help them grow their business, but this is actually what holds them back from more success. And when they really choose, when they really focus on one thing, then they can accelerate their success, and people just understand why are they choosing them, why are they working with them, and they can find a lot of resources around them.
And for men, just focus on your wife. That'll do it, and keep you nice and happy.
That's great. Thank you very, very much. And I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy day to be with us. And this is the World Love Week event at www.worldloveweek. And we're just talking about how to put heart into your business. And Kane and Alessia, you definitely put a lot of heart into your business and into the world. So thank you very much for being with us today.
Great. Thank you for having us.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.